All right, so we're going to be reading A Walk in the Prairie. I know it's backwards to you, but I will just read it out loud and you can follow along with your copy. All right, I really like these books. And I like how the definitions are in the beginning of different words to know and how to say them as well. So that's really nice to reference. All right, page number 5. Tall grass swaying in the breeze. A mother prairie dog sits at the entrance to her burrow. Her pups play nearby. Tense and alert, she scans the low grass-covered hills. Suddenly, a shadow appears on the grass. It slides toward the burrow. The prairie dog throws back her head and barks out a warning. Yip, yip, yip. The pups come running as a red-tailed hawk descends. Its clawed feet are stretched toward them. The last pup dives down the burrow just in time. The hawk's claws close on nothing but air. It flies off to try its luck elsewhere on the prairie. Imagine an ocean where the waves are made of grass. That's what a prairie looks like. When the wind blows, the grass ripples like water. Here and there, a few trees and bushes grow along a stream or around a pond. But mostly, there are just miles and miles of grass. It stretches out in all directions, beneath a great dome of sky. A prairie is a type of grassland. Prairie covers much of the middle of North America. It extends from the eastern side of the Rocky Mountains to Illinois, and from southern Canada to Texas. Grasses like this, Indian grass, are the main plant on the prairie. There's many different types of grasses. If you go out to a prairie nearby, maybe in the ditch or maybe in your backyard you have some prairie, go look at the different types of grasses. There's mainly Indian grass, there's big blue stem, there's switchgrass. There's a lot of different types of grasses, and it's kind of fun to collect their seeds and study about each one. You might be surprised. All right, page number 8. Wow, it would be fun just to sit here and study this map. So Minnesota, we are mostly deciduous forest and a little bit boreal forest and grassland, maybe. The prairie is surrounded by other kinds of landscapes. If you travel east or north of the prairie, you come to forests. Farther north, near the top of the world, is a cold, treeless plain called the tundra. To the south and southwest of the prairie, you find dry, hot deserts. Grasslands, forests, tundra, and deserts are Earth's main land zones. Scientists call these different land zones biomes. Each biome has a different type of climate. The climate is an area's unusual pattern of weather over a long period of time. Every biome is home to a special group of plants. The plants are well suited to living in a biome's climate and to growing in the soil found here. Every biome is also home to a special group of animals. In one way or another, the animals depend on the plants to survive. Many of a biome's animals eat plants. Other animals eat the plant eaters. So we have herbivores, which are plant eaters. We have carnivores who only eat meat. And then we have omnivores that eat both. So people are normally omnivores. Some people are vegetarians where they don't eat meat, and so forth. All the plants and animals in a biome form a community. In that community, every living thing depends on other community members for its survival. A biome's climate, soil, plants, and animals are all connected this way. The prairie's climate is quite dry, too dry for trees, but just right for grasses. Prairie winters are cold, and the summers are hot. The wind blows much of the time. Violent storms can spring up in minutes. Blizzards howl across the prairie in the winter. Thunderstorms bring heavy rain, lightning, and hail, and sometimes tornadoes. The wind blows most of the time on the prairie. Sometimes it's a breeze, sometimes it's a howling gale. Swirling winds create a tornado's funnel cloud. Ooh. We sometimes have funnel clouds here in Minnesota. They are scary. A short grass prairie is found where the climate is dry and grasses don't grow very high. Big bluestem grass grows in the tallest, I'm gonna put on my glasses. Okay, now I can read. All right. Big bluestem grass grows in the tall grass prairie where more rain falls. If you traveled all the way across the prairie in the middle of North America, you'd discover that different kinds of grasses grow in different parts of this biome. In the east, where slightly more rain falls, you'd find grasses that are quite tall. Some kinds can grow taller than you. In the west, where it is drier, the grasses are shorter. Few grow more than knee-high. Let's take a walk in the prairie. We'll see what life is like in this kingdom of grass and sky. The tallest of all prairie grasses, big bluestem, grows taller than most people do. Wow. It is a tall plant. Another tall plant, they're called Phragmites, and they're invasive, so they're normally found in like ditches and things like that, especially along the interstate and highways. You will see them in the ditches, and they can grow up to 14 feet tall. 14 feet. So if you are in a room with a standard ceiling, okay, imagine about another half a room stacked on top. So to the ceiling, and then another half a room on top of that. That's about 14 feet. That's a long piece of grass. All right. Grasses and other prairie plants use sunlight to make food. The plants are food for many animals like this bison and her calf. Every spring, warm winds blow up from the south. The winds and the sunshine melt the snow that has covered the prairie all winter long. As the ground thaws, narrow blades of grass push up through the damp soil. Soon, the gently rolling landscape is covered in a bright green carpet of sweet-smelling grass. Prairie grass isn't the kind that grows on a lawn. It's wild. Dozens of kinds of wild grasses grow on the prairie. They have wonderful names like big bluestem, squirreltail, prairie dropseed, and devil's darning needle. Grass flowers and eventually grass seeds grow in clusters at the tips of long, narrow stems. Ooh. Dozens of kinds of wildflowers grow here too. Prairie golden pea, pale pasque flowers, prairie violets, and pink shooting stars are some of the first to bloom each spring. These delicate pasque flowers grow only a few inches high, and these are beautiful. Sorry. These flowers are so cool. I've seen them one time in actually Fergus Falls, Minnesota. There's a site there that you can go. It's called the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. I actually did my student teaching there. And anyway, we found a whole field of these on a hillside, and it was just gorgeous. They just sit on the ground. They don't stem up like other plants that you might have at your house. They sit on the ground just like this. It's kind of unusual. Really pretty though. By midsummer, the grass is knee-high. Can you feel it swishing around your legs as you walk along? See how quickly the grass springs up after you pass by? One of my favorite things to do is to walk through a field and just close my eyes and stretch out my arms and let the grass tickle my hands. And maybe I grab onto some and just gently feel the seeds on top. And oh, it's just relaxing. All right. Prairie grasses are tough, hardy plants. When the wind blows, their narrow green blades bend and sway, but they don't break. When you step on them, they straighten again. Hail may shred them. Animals may chew them to the ground. But before you know it, the grasses grow right back. What is the grass's survival secret? Blades of prairie grass grow up from the strong roots. The roots spread wide and reach deep into the soil. Grass roots live for many years. No matter what happens to the green blades above, the roots usually survive, even when fire burns the grasses down to the ground. Buffalo grass seeds send out low-growing stems called runners. Where the runners take root, a new plant grows. A severe storm may pelt prairie grasses with icy lumps of hail, but the grass's roots will remain alive underground. So, root systems can be very complex in the plant world. Sometimes I think of it like this. And sometimes this is true, especially in trees. So if you have any trees that you can look out and see right now, okay, look at the tree and then imagine the root system below is just as tall as the tree underneath, like a mirror effect. Wow. No wonder why trees don't fall over that easy. Their root system is kind of like an anchor. It helps them stand straight up and not fall over. So if you do see a tree fall over, typically maybe it breaks in its trunk, or you see its whole root system come up out of the ground. So it's kind of crazy to think that there's a whole new world underneath the ground that you've never even seen before. Page number 18. Fires are common on the prairie. Most are started by lightning. Driven by the wind, a grass fire can race for miles across the prairie. It leaves nothing but charred, smoking ground in its path. Within a few days, new shoots appear. Fires actually help keep a prairie healthy. They kill young trees and bushes that might shade the grasses or crowd them out. When the ashes of burned grasses mix into the soil, they help new shoots grow quickly. This is very true. Some people do controlled burns on their crops or maybe their fields and get rid of all of the dead grasses that build up over time, and it kind of gives it a fresh new start. So remember, they have roots underneath the ground still, so they're still there, but their tops are burnt off, so they'll just naturally pop back up, actually faster than before, because all of that ash makes for good fertilizer. I love science. Okay. Kneel down in the grass. Spread the blades apart, down to where they meet the ground. Covering the ground is sod, a layer of dead grass and the tangled roots of grass plants. Dig your fingers into the sod. Can you feel how dense and tough it is? And it says the tangled roots of prairie plants form a thick layer of sod on the top of the soil. Beneath the sod, the prairie soil is moist and dark. It is full of worms and tiny creatures that break dead grass and other waste into smaller pieces. These pieces become a part of the soil, which is rich in the things prairie plants need to grow as well. Tunneling earthworms help turn wastes into dark, rich soil, as you can see on the top. So it eats, and then its scat is actually fertilizer for plants. So it's good. It's really good to have earthworms in your yard, in your flower beds. They're our friends. They're helping us. All right, and for fishing. As you kneel here on the prairie, take a closer look at what's growing around you. Tucked in among the green grasses are all kinds of wildflowers. This time of year, the prairie looks like a crazy quilt of blossoms. Purple coneflowers and milkweed sway in the breeze. Delicate blue flax has petals the same color as the sky. The sweet smell of wild clover fills the air. Oh, I love that smell. All summer long, the colors of the prairie landscape change as different wildflowers come into bloom. A wild rose plant sprawls among the grasses. The flowers of black-eyed Susan, there's many of those in Minnesota, and the purple coneflower have dark centers surrounded by bright petals. Even in the winter, if you go to a field and find purple coneflower, they'll still have the little spike ball. And people, before hairbrushes were invented, they used these as their combs because they're so spiky, so they can use them. Fun fact. Okay, page number 24. A spider lurks in the silken web, waiting for insects to blunder into the trap it has spun. And then the other caption while we're at it. Dressed in velvet colors, a butterfly lands on the flowers of an ironweed plant. If I'm going too fast, you can pause it too. Many of the grasses are blooming too. Can you find their flowers? Most grow in clusters. The individual flowers are very, very small. It's hard to see them well without a magnifying glass. I would say so about the purple plant. It's really hard to see. All these flowers, large and small, attract bees, butterflies, and other insects. They visit the flowers in search of sweet nectar to drink. When insects land on flowers, yellow grains of pollen stick to their bodies. As insects go from flower to flower, they spread pollen from plant to plant. Plants use pollen to make seeds. If we did not have insects, plants would not pollinate. Plants would not regrow and spread. So thank insects for making our world beautiful. We wouldn't have flowers. We wouldn't have like a lot of different, just imagine. Wow. Yeah, in order for that pollen to get places, it needs to get transported by insects. Everything has its purpose in the world. Okay. A busy bee collects nectar and pollen as it works its way around a sunflower. Aphids have narrow tube-shaped mouths. They suck plant juices like you would suck soda through a straw. A monarch butterfly caterpillar crawls on plant stems in its search for food. Lie back among the prairie grasses and flowers. Watch the clouds float by like giant cotton balls in the sky. Close your eyes and listen. Bees are buzzing, crickets are chirping, and there's another sound, the faint munching of countless tiny mouths. Prairie plants provide food for all sorts of animals. The most numerous grass eaters are insects. Grasshoppers cling to green blades and stems. They gnaw them down to nothing, then leap away to the next meal. Caterpillars crawl along the edges of leaves, eating as they go. With strong jaws, Beetles slice into anything green. Aphids suck juices from their thick plant stems. Field mice and voles nibble on prairie plants and feast on their seeds. So do ground squirrels, pocket gophers, and rabbits. They scurry along the paths they have made among the grass stems. They dig burrows in the soil where they sleep and raise their babies. A pocket gopher's front teeth grow through its lips. If it keeps its lips together, it can use those teeth to cut roots or dig without getting dirt in its mouth. I never knew that. So its teeth are on the outside, like this. A ground squirrel stuffs its mouth with dry grass. It will use the grass to line its underground nest. We have lots of killdeer in Minnesota too. Well, all of these. Most everything in this book is found in Minnesota. A killdeer pretends it has a broken wing to lure predators away from its eggs or chicks. So it pretends that it's wounded, so then the predator doesn't go into the nest and eat the eggs. How smart is that? And killdeer have really long legs, and they're actually on the ground. They don't fly much. So you'll see them a lot, obviously, in the prairie. And they have a high-pitched squeaking sound. Bright yellow and black markings make meadowlarks easy to spot. Many kinds of birds live on the prairie. As you continue walking, a red-tailed hawk circles overhead. The loud warbling song of a meadowlark rings through the air. A grasshopper sparrow lands on a thistle. Some birds, like the hawk, lives on the prairie year-round. Others spend only the summers here. They come to feast on insects and seeds to raise their chicks. The grasshopper sparrow is a summer visitor. It spends the winter in the south and flies north into the prairie each spring. If you look carefully, you might spot the grasshopper sparrow's nest. It is on the ground nearby. A small cup of woven grass nestled in the bottom of four spotted eggs. Because there are few trees or bushes on the prairie, many birds build their nests on or just above the ground. Ducks do this sometimes. They have their nests in the prairie. The eggs of a grasshopper sparrow lie safely hidden in a nest of woven grass. A few days later, the sparrow is busy bringing food to its tiny chicks. Oh. When a rattlesnake bites, it injects poison through two long, hollow teeth called fangs. Ooh, I'm glad we don't have a lot of those. We actually don't have any rattlesnakes at all in Minnesota. There's only one dangerous snake, and it's a bull snake, but it lives in like the southernmost part of Minnesota. Badgers eat ground squirrels and other small animals. They use long claws to tear into underground burrows. But the ground can be dangerous, a dangerous place. There are many predators in the prairie. Badgers dig underground in search of prey. Bushy-tailed foxes wade silently through the grasses, sniffing for a meal. Snakes also lurk in the tangle of stems and leaves. Snakes eat birds, eggs, and chicks. They squeeze into burrows looking for young mice or rabbits to devour. Most snakes, like bull snakes and gardener snakes, are harmless to people, but rattlesnakes live here too, so watch your step. I must be wrong. I thought bull snakes. I guess they're harmless, so we have nothing to worry about in Minnesota. I'm wrong. I learn something new every day. Okay, page number 31. With dinner in its mouth, a coyote trots home to its pups. A garter snake hunts worms, insects, and frogs. Coyotes are the largest predators in the prairie. They often stand very still in the grass. Only their ears move as they listen for the rustle of little feet or the squeak of a tiny voice. Then they pounce. Mice and rabbits are quick, but coyotes are quicker. Some of you might have dogs that pounce. This is an instinct to capture or squish its prey. Prairie potholes become summer homes for ducks, geese, and many other birds. So potholes are like a slough or a pond, not a lake. Follow a gentle hillside down to a small pond. Tall reeds and cattails ring its banks. Shallow pools like this one are common in some parts of the prairie, called prairie potholes. They are nesting places for ducks and other summer birds. Both yellow-headed and red-winged blackbirds have built nests here. They perch on the cattails and shriek out rasping sounds. Red-winged blackbirds weave nests of soft grass near water. A yellow-headed blackbird perches on cattails near the water's edge. Prairie dogs often greet each other by touching noses or kissing. Neat mounds of dirt mark the entrances to burrows in a prairie dog town. Over the hill, the land levels out. There isn't much grass here. The ground is covered with small mounds of dirt. Plump, squirrel-sized prairie dogs scamper among the mounds. You're standing on the edge of their town. Most of the town is underground. Prairie dogs live in burrows several feet beneath the surface. Sit quietly and watch them pop in and out of their burrows. Above the ground, some prairie dogs munch grasses. Others gather seeds. Some dig, kicking dirt high into the air as they repair old burrows or make new ones. A prairie dog munches on grass. Another uses its back feet to widen a burrow, sending dirt flying. Slim, strong predators, black-footed ferrets, hunt prairie dogs in burrows at night. When disturbed, burrowing owls make a noise like a rattlesnake to scare predators away. Sometimes, other animals also live in a prairie dog town. A family of burrowing owls has made their home in an abandoned prairie dog burrow. Can you see their sound yellow eyes staring out at you? Can you see their round yellow eyes staring out at you? So their feathers really help them camouflage into that burrow. All around the town, prairie dogs stand guard. They sit upright and their paws folded neatly against their stomachs. This kind of reminds me of meerkats, if you ever watched that show on Animal Planet. It was called Meerkat Manor. And they all stand up on their hind legs and they're really skinny. They kind of look like these. We don't have meerkats. That's in the southern part of the world, but that's kind of a fun connection. All right, they scan the landscape for signs of danger. Yip, yip, yip. Something has alarmed the prairie dog guards. A herd of bison is coming toward the town. Like a furry soldier, the prairie dog stands guard. A herd of bison moves slowly across the grassy landscape. And we don't have them. They're actually not, buffalo and bison are different. Water buffalo actually spend time in the water. And bison are the mammals that are on prairies. But we don't have them in the wild in Minnesota. Bison are huge. The males or bulls are the largest and heaviest land animals in North America. Bison are well suited to life on the prairie. All they eat is grass. They can stand bitter cold, summer heat, and long periods without rain. The bison are closer. Hear them snorting? Their heads bob up and down as they take big mouthfuls of grass. A male bison weighs as much as a small car. Bison calves have reddish fur that turns dark brown as they get older. A bison's horns are sturdy and sharp. Prairie dog dives into their burrow as the bison herd moves through their town. A few bison drop to their knees. They roll in the dirt, raising dust like clouds of smoke. These dust baths help keep biting flies away. Bath time! A bison rolls in the dust. We're almost done. A pronghorn's large eyes are set on the sides of its head, giving it a wide-angled view of the prairie. A young pronghorn follows its mother closely. Again, we don't have these. These are found elsewhere in other prairie states. The bison move on. Off in the distance, you spot a small herd of pronghorns. They move slowly, munching grass. There are several young pronghorns in the herd. They stay close by their mothers. One pronghorn raises its head and sniffs the air. Whole herd is suddenly alert. A coyote leaps from a clump of thick grass. Instantly, the pronghorns are off and running like the wind. Pronghorns are the fastest animal on the prairie and in North America, faster than racehorses. Healthy pronghorns can easily outrun coyotes and any other prairie predator. Wow. They kind of remind me of white-tailed deer. We have a lot of white-tailed deer, and this kind of is kind of the same idea. They go in herds and they eat a lot of grass. And if one deer spots you, normally they pick up their head and then they flash their white tail to signal the others that there is danger nearby. And coyotes eat white-tailed deer. Oh man, these little squirrels, I tell you what. Okay, autumn colors mean winter is on its way. The prairie is full of wonderful sights and sounds at this time of year. But changes are coming. In a month or two, shorter days and cooler temperatures will mark the end of summer. Then flowers fade and berries ripen. Seeds fall to the ground and are scattered by the wind. When the first autumn frosts nip the air, the prairie changes from green to gold, then fades to brown. The grass blades turn dry as paper. Many birds take to the skies and head south. Ground squirrels grow fat from eating many seeds. Mice and prairie dogs fatten up too. They also store seeds in their burrows for long, cold months ahead. I see a lot of 13-line ground squirrels. And they are fast and they make those tiny little holes in like pastures or prairie. You've probably seen many of them. By the end of summer, the center of a sunflower is packed with tasty seeds. Ooh, I love sunflower seeds, especially like the ones that have seasoning on them, like the dill pickle ones or the extra salty. Yum, now I'm getting hungry. Okay, as winter approaches, a 13-line ground squirrel eats and eats and eats. So do I. Page number 44. In the winter, ground squirrels live off the fat stored in their bodies. A bison pushes aside snow to reach the grass beneath it. One day in late October or early November, north winds bring snow to the prairie. The snow buries the dead grasses. It settles like a white blanket on the rolling hills. The large animals brave many cold, snowy months. Foxes and coyotes, it can be pronounced coyotes or coyotes, hunt rabbits and mice. Bison use their huge heads to bulldoze away the snow. Then they can reach the dry but nourishing grasses beneath it. Many smaller animals don't spend much time out in the snow and cold. They lie safe and snug underground. snoozing in their burrows. Some, like ground squirrels, fall into the deeper sleep of the hibernation. Their body temperature falls to just above freezing. Their hearts beat slowly. They breathe very slowly too. In the rich, dark soil, roots and seeds survive too. And so the animals and plants of the prairie pass the cold winter months waiting for spring and for new life to return. A dewdrop sparkles on a young blade of grass in the spring. Have you ever looked at a drop of water and noticed that the reflection that it gives is upside down to what you see? You can see it in the picture. It shows the skies on the bottom and the grasses are at the top. I wonder why. And we are done. Wow. Here's some websites that you could visit if you want to learn more about these. National Geographic Society, or just nationalgeographic.com has a lot of cool stuff. You can learn a lot about different things about nature. So I really like these books. I think that they don't only talk about the biome of a prairie, but I like how they go into detail about certain plants and animals and go into what they do, what they might look like. I think that's fun because then it's kind of like a scavenger hunt for us when we maybe take a drive in the country or look out in our yard. So maybe you'll be able to identify some things now. All right, that is the end of our book. Thank you for listening. Bye.